good crowd this morning, and good crowd. The sun's bringing everyone out, right? Why don't you stand with me? We'll sing this chorus through a couple of times, and then maybe shake someone's hand and welcome them here this morning.
Is in you, Lord.
And we just want to bless his name this morning. What more could we ask for or need is God's love, and just sing from your hearts today and give him thanks and praise. God should love us, sinners such as I should yearn to change my sorrow into bliss, for rest to me and plan to bring me nigh. How wonderful is love like this, such love. This last song we're going to sing before Tracy comes is one of my favorites. I love this song, and we don't do it very often, and it may not be done perfectly, but how great is our God, and I just want to praise Him this morning. Thank you for how great He is.
Brought the bulletin back up here with me for a purpose. On the right-hand side of your paper there, you'll see something that I forgot to point out. It's very important, and it's beautiful when we see milestones like this. 65th wedding anniversary. An open house will be held on April 9th, 3 to 6 p.m. in the home of Glenn and Rilla Barr. Best wishes only. It's beautiful when we see something like that, when you see someone that's celebrating 65 years. And man, I remember when I was a kid and my parents had their 25th wedding anniversary. I was so sure they were so old, you know? And this year is Heidi and I, it's our 21st. So I guess we're getting old. Man, I remember when my parents had their 25th, they were ancient. Like, they were just these old people. I couldn't believe that people have been married 25 years. And now I look at people and go, wow, these people have been married 65 years. But it's coming. You just go, it's coming. This morning we're being joined by Lisa. I met Lisa when I was studying at Kingswood. And she was an off-campus, that was where she was living, so lots of times she would be doing her homework in the library. And I found out this studious person that was usually quiet down there was excellent to go, what on earth do I do in this assignment? Oh yes, junior church. My wife is going. Junior church, ages 5 to 9 can go downstairs. We usually have a couple of classes, but we're beginning to lack in volunteers for that. So if anyone would like to aid in that program, see my wife sometime. She will find a spot for you. So anyway, this person that seemed quite studious, I would bounce ideas off of or ask questions to, is this lady right here. I used her a lot for how do I get this assignment done. Then I found out she was working full-time and studying full-time. I was just studying full-time and was overwhelmed. So I found through that she must be excellent with her working skills to be able to organize such things. She only took one extra semester. She was studying, she was taking her Bachelor of Theology degree, and since then you've taken the Master's degree in Theology as well. And all that time working out as a single person with an apartment and things. So I went, wow. And then I found out she does stuff in the community. While she was working in Sussex running a business, she was working for the church in Norton, donating her time. And right now she's working in Truro. And I'm going to let her come up here and tell some more of her story and things. This is to give you ideas. This is not, what she says this morning, I'm not going to go, hey, ta-da, we're doing all this now. Like any ideas that she throws at us. This is to make us dream. I could have came up here this morning and helped you dream about missions in our community, but you'd have just went, I've heard it before, Tracy Mayor's been around here for a while, he's a little off the wall, but you would have just got my same ideas pitched at you again. Or we'd have talked about old times, remember when we did this, and you'd all smiled and nodded. But this way we get to think outside of the box from a different perspective and different ideas so that we can go, oh, and it's to help us dream. I'm going to tell you one more short story and then I'll let her go. I was reading a magazine this weekend and there was a church plant outside of New York City in rural community. Probably not as small as this one, but they were given a congregation. They said, here, take 100 people, and that's your church. These 100, to take them out of our congregation, but these 100 are going to help you build a church. They built a church up to 300. Then they needed this building, and they couldn't find a building, and they faltered in finding a building long enough. They fell back to 80 people coming. Then in their past few years of struggle, the story built up to whatever. And I got to thinking, we have 70 or 80 people that gather in a building every week. What if we were a church plant that just dropped here, and you were all sent out of a bigger church? Would you ask for much more gifted individuals than we received here with this 80? We wouldn't. We wouldn't want any more of a spread of ages. We wouldn't want any more of a spread of gifts and things. So just think if we'd arrived here right now as this congregation is sitting here this morning, and this is our first Sunday, and now we're going to address the needs in our community as a church plant, and we're going to build this to a couple hundred. I went, why is it absurd to ask that of our congregation, that we become the hands and feet of of Jesus and work in a different way than we've been working in the last bit. So I just wanted to leave you with that before she begins. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. I am green. All right, I do have a bit of a light voice, so maybe you'll have to crank me up a little bit in the speakers for everybody to hear me properly. There you go. I can hear myself. Awesome. All right, so yes, I'll introduce a little bit more about myself before I get started. One, yes, I am a bit of a workaholic. And two, I am French, so I move a lot. When I speak, I travel a lot. And sometimes there are words that I say that I re-say because I've said them a little wrong. But, you know, my brain kicks in and hits in between the English and French brain, and then I get a blockage. And then I get going, and I'm fine. I just, every once in a while, I kind of forget words completely in either language. So I pause for a second, and I keep going. And sometimes I make it look like I know what I'm doing, and it's just like, let's think about that. All right, so this morning, the way, when Tracy first approached me, I was like, oh yes, I can talk about this. And, you know, talking about service, and that is something that is very dear to my heart. I actually started a business 2 years ago that revolves around service and serving in our communities. But before I get to that, I would like to establish a little bit of a biblical groundwork so that we can kind of prepare ourselves to receive the information that I'm going to talk to you about regarding my own personal experience with the business that I've started and some of the stuff that I do now. So just so we can, you know, get ourselves planted a little bit. I couldn't help but smile earlier. I was sitting in the little study there before service, and some of the stuff that was coming out is actually stuff that I'm going to be talking about this morning. And next week, I'm hoping I can give you some stuff that you can kind of mull over in your minds, and then next week when you get to the study, hopefully you can get there, because you're going to be kind of talking about what I'm going to be talking about today. So maybe that can spark some ideas, and you can get together and do that before next Sunday's service. So we're going to start simple. We're going to go to Mark 12, 28 to 31. So we're going to look at the... I am short.
The big one. Okay.
Awesome. I can move more. Sweet.
We're going to give you freedom.
I usually do that in Truro too. I make a path.
Yep, make a path. There you
So I
go.
know I'm going to trip over something or knock something over. There you go. Woohoo! All right. So Mark 12, 28 to 31. Well, 29, sorry. We'll start at 29. So Jesus says, he's talking about the greatest commandment. So the most important commandment is this. Listen, O Israel, the Lord our God is the one and only Lord. And you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength. The second is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. No other commandment is greater than these. So I found through my time being a Christian, I became a Christian, what year is this? In 2004, if you can make the math. So I became a Christian in 2004, and through my journey and through my studies, I noticed, I was like, you know what, we're really good as Christians to hit that first commandment, but the second one we struggle with a lot for whatever reason. And Jesus says it's as equally important as the first one. And how are we supposed to embody that? How are we tangibly loving our neighbors? And who are our neighbors? Who is that referring to? And then there's different little stories that you can read in the New Testament about who are the neighbors? You know, since Jesus told us that that was important, maybe the first place to look at is himself, right? How did he live out that commandment? How did he live that out? So if we turn to Matthew 14, So we'll bounce around a little bit before we land on something a little bit more permanent. So Matthew 14, verses 13 and 14. I think this is, kind of a clear-cut little passage that kind of shows us how Jesus lived his life, lived his ministry, and how he lived this commandment. It says, as soon as Jesus heard the news, he left in a boat to a remote area to be alone. But the crowds heard where he was headed and followed on foot from many towns. Jesus saw the huge crowd as he stepped from the boat, and he had compassion on them and healed their sick. So even Jesus, even though he was trying to kind of remove himself a little bit, maybe to rest, or for whatever reason he wanted to remove himself a little bit, to go to a remote area to rest, people came to him and rushed to him, and he had compassion on them, and then he met their needs, so whatever it was. So compassion, right? It goes to love your neighbor as yourself. He lived that out, and the way he did that is everywhere he went, and you see this in the New Testament over and over, but here's kind of packaged up. He saw people, and he had compassion on them, and he met their needs. He recognized what their needs were, and he met them. So he not only, you read instances where he forgave people's sins, but at the same time, he was like, okay, get up and walk. So he did two things, right? He helped them spiritually, and he helped them with whatever need they had. He fed thousands of people. They were hungry. He recognized it. He had compassion on them, and he fed thousands of people with just a little bit, right? So Jesus, that's how he lived life. Wherever he went, he saw people, he saw their needs, he had compassion, and he met their needs. So we're going to flip to James now. James chapter 2, verses 14 to 26. And we talked a little bit about this morning. And then we're kind of transitioning a little bit here into the service part. This whole passage is about, faith without works or good deeds is dead, right? We can say we believe in God, we can say we love you, but if we don't show it through our actions, do we really? Right? As humans, each and every one of us values people loving us, but people just telling us, I love you, without ever doing anything to show that they care, really doesn't go anywhere, does it? Right? So in this passage, we're going to read this quickly through, just to kind of get us familiar with this passage and what James is talking about and where I want us to kind of be in thinking, basically setting up what I'm going to be talking about in regards to my own personal experience in my business and why I do it. So James, that went down. James 2:14, we start at verse 14. So what good is it, dear brothers and sisters, if you say you have faith, but don't show it by your actions? Can that kind of faith save anyone? Suppose you see a brother or sister who has no food or clothing, and you say, goodbye and have a good day, stay warm and eat well. But then you don't give that person any food or clothing, what good does that do? So you see, faith by itself isn't enough. Unless it produces good deeds, it is dead and useless. Now someone may argue, some people have faith, others have good deeds. But I say, how can you show me your faith if you don't have good deeds? I will show you my faith by my good deeds. You say you have faith, for you believe that there is one God. Good for you! Even the demons believe this, and they tremble in terror. How foolish! Can't you see that faith without good deeds is useless? And we'll stop there. You read, he continues going on. He gives examples about Abraham and Rahab and how they demonstrated their faith by some of the things that they did. And so all of that to say, kind of set this up a little bit. I'm going to change gears a little bit and talk about personal experience and try to help you kind of stimulate your thoughts in how you can also make a difference in this way in your community. A couple of years ago, I worked for Belpliant. I was selling door-to-door television, phone, and internet. And it wasn't easy, right? I had people slam the door in my face. I had people swear at me. I had, you know, a guy, I was sure he was going to pull a shotgun on me at one point. And I was like, getting towards my car, right? You know, the first thing, he was my first door, actually. I knock on the door, and my first time on my own, I knock on the door, and I hear through the house, right? He's stomping along, and he swings the door open, and he says, "Somebody better be dead." By then, I had already taken a few steps back, and I said, "I hope not." Right? And there started our conversation. He hated Alliant, and I was like, all decked out in like blue bell Alliant, whatever, right? So that was quite a challenge, but I almost got him to listen to my pitch. But still, he closed the door and off he went, and I'm gone. But through that, when I was going door to door, what they do is they give you a list. And on that list is people's addresses. And you have to go to each and every one of those and mark down that you went there, you've knocked, they've answered, whatever. Whatever happened, you write it down, and it's like, okay, I went to all these addresses and whatever, whatever. And I remember looking at some of the addresses, and I sold mostly in the rural area of Sussex. Not that Sussex is very urban, but I was on the outskirts selling. And sometimes I looked at the address, and I looked at the house, and I went, somebody live in there? Like, where's the front door? Like, it was boarded up everywhere, and then I could see a path from the road to the house. I was like, there's actually somebody living in there. I would have thought that was abandoned. No, somebody was actually living in that house. And you know, they wouldn't answer, or maybe I was knocking on the wrong board. I don't know, right? Like, which one is the front door? Which, you know, I'm kind of joking about it, but at the same time being serious. Like, some people are living in these conditions where most of us would deem unacceptable. There were other places that I went at where the people answered and let me in, and they were the happiest little people. And usually they were seniors, and their house is falling apart. And they just look at you and they're like, well, I can't buy you anything, but you want a glass of water? Right? I'm like, no, I'm fine. Right? I'm okay. I'm good. How about you? How are you doing? Right? It's like, wow. I can't believe you're living in this condition, and you've got a smile on your face, and you're happy, and you're still offering me something. There's another place that I went at, and this is March, right? This is in the wintertime. I did this between February and April. I didn't do the job for very long. But, you know, so it's minus 20-something, and I get to this house, and as I'm walking towards the door, I can see that the door that's in the door frame is not the door that's meant for that frame. They didn't have the proper door to put in their door frame. They had a door that was slightly bigger, and it was pushed against the hole. And this is minus 20-something. You can imagine the draft that comes in through the cracks. Right? Sometimes we just have a little itty-bitty sliver in between the rubber and the door, and it's like, boom, right? And these people didn't even have the proper door to put on their house. You know, I knocked on the door. I didn't want to knock too hard because I was afraid the door was going to fall over. But I could hear them do dishes. I could hear them through the window on the side there. It was a small trailer. And I knocked a couple times, and then they never answered. So I walked away crying. I was like, wow. And that really opened my eyes up, and I was like, this is my community. And people are suffering silently, because these people aren't waving flags going, hey, look at me, right? They're quiet, they're in their homes, and as much as possible, they don't want to be noticed because they're ashamed of their situation. A lot of times. And so that got me thinking. I'm like, okay. At the time, I wasn't a pastor, and that was just before I went in to do my master's degree. And it just got my gears going, right? So this is not right. There's something wrong with this picture. Where's the church? Where's the church in these people's lives? If there's anybody that can make a difference, it's the church. Where are we? What difference are we making? How are we loving our neighbors? These people are in our own community. And for the most part, if I hadn't been forced to look at each and every house, I would have kept missing it myself. But because I was forced to slow down and go to each house, I was forced to see it. And then, whoa, this, it was like, and I've been living in the area for a long time. I'm not from Sussex, I'm from northern New Brunswick. But by then, I've been living in Sussex for 7 years, 8 years. So I wasn't new to the area, and I'd been driving around, and I'd seen these places, but I hadn't noticed that. I hadn't been exposed firsthand to the people and their lives and their conditions. So shortly after I quit my job, I was like, I can't make any sales around here, for one, because people are falling through their floors. They're not going to buy products from me, right? So I quit, and I found it very difficult. I cried probably every day. I walked into different situations, and then, I go down the street, and this guy's got a 3-door garage with ceramic on their floor. It's probably heated in their garage, and the person next door is falling through their floor. Right? I saw the injustice in that. I couldn't believe, and I'm not saying that you can't have a 3-door garage with ceramic in your garage. I'm not saying you can't have that, but at some point we have to question, how are we loving our neighbor? How are we doing that? If we're looking around and there's all these inconsistencies, how are we? What are we doing? What are we doing? So that got me thinking. And then after I quit Bell, I ended up working with the Salvation Army. They were looking for somebody to fill in about a month's gap of time, so I filled in with the Salvation Army. So now people were coming to me with their needs, right? A flood just happened to happen that spring. We went through a very bad flood, and a lot of people lost a lot of stuff. And, we had families come to us, right? They had like 5 kids, and none of them have a bed. They need new clothes. They need new everything, right? Their house is falling apart. They need people to clean and scrub it down and whatnot. So they were coming to me, and then once that crisis was over, there were some people that were coming to me still for help for food because they were kicked out. Their boyfriend or whatever kicked them out. They're on the street. They don't know what to do. They don't have a place to stay. They don't have food. Right, from one minute to another, these people had a home and everything, to one day, they're on the street, have no sweet clue what to do. And in 99% of those situations, it's something that can happen to any one of us from one day to the other. And that got me thinking even more. Like, ow, this is real stuff. This is real stuff. From one moment, from one instant to the other, your life can change so drastically, and who's there to help? Who's there to pick you up and give you hope? Where's the church? We are the perfect people to step into that gap, to reach out and go, okay, I'm going to be your neighbor, your loving neighbor. What do you need? How can I help you? How can I support you? And hopefully that if we end up in a situation similar to that somebody will do the same. Right? Reach out and help us out, just like we're willing to help others out. Right? That community. So, again, my wheels are turning. By nature, I am a problem solver. If a problem comes across my mind goes extra busy until I can figure something out. So I started thinking, so how can the church step in? How can the church reach out? Right? Because there are some restrictions. I'm like, okay, I could go door to door and ask people, but if I was all decked out in Bella Lion clothes, and Bella Lion, still has a good reputation, right? Probably half and half, right? If I, with Bella Lion, was able to go to somebody's door and they opened the door and as soon as they saw me, slammed it right back in my face, and they didn't want to hear a word I had to say, they didn't want to even get to know who I was, I don't think that's the best plan for churches, right? I'm not saying we can't go door to door, but just to go to your door and say, say some kind of sales pitch, it's not going to work, right? It could, but there could be a little bit more tension there. So I was like, okay, so how do I get to the people who have the needs? How do I get there? Well, how about they call you to come over? Right? They call you, they invite you over, so you're there now, then they've invited you in, and okay, come in here. Okay, so what do I do now? Okay, that's a thought, right? What do I do from here? So I started thinking, I was like, you know what, if I had money, I could give money, but I had absolutely no money, so I couldn't give money. So I was like, okay, well, God has given me a lot of skills. My dad is a jack of all trades. Like, literally, he does pretty much anything. And I've inherited some of that through my genes. And I'm aware of that, and we laugh about that all the time, because my brother got my mother's genes. My dad for years, he's a mechanic by trade, but he does a lot of carpentry and stuff. For years, my dad tried to get my brother to grab tools and fix his little bicycle, and my brother's like, whatever. And I was the one, so Dad, right? So now we embrace that, and I'm always with my dad when he's working on my car, and so we have our daddy-daughter bonding moment, talking cars and whatever. And anyway, so I acknowledge some of those skills and some of the stuff growing up. I was in charge of our property, so mowing. That was my job, and if I saw something on the property I wanted to change, that was my thing. That's what I did. I love being outdoors. I love working with my hands. I love doing a job. And then you step back and you're like, it's so satisfying. I love that. That's me. So I recognized that as gifts that God had given me. So I was like, okay, well, let's put two and two together. And can I start a business out of this? And what is that going to look like? How much am I going to charge? Anyways, all those thoughts are like going in my mind, and I have a little book. I didn't bring it in. I have it in my bag though. It's a little black book, and I started writing all of my thoughts in that little book. It was like, okay, idea, right? And then I landed on this. Here's an issue, the stuff that I talked about, people's houses and their condition. It's like everybody deserves to live at least at a certain level. Everybody should have food to eat. Everybody should have at least a decent place to stay in. Everybody should have clothing. Everybody should have a decent bed, right? There are certain things that everybody should have access to. So I came up with this name after several hours of pondering and throwing stuff around. Parkour. Everybody deserves to live on par by meeting their core needs. And this is one word, parkour. So okay, parkour services. I had an older car. I sold it. I took that money and I went to the lawyer's office. I said, I want to start a business. How much is it going to cost me? And it was just about the money I sold the car for. I said, okay, this is the name I want, and this is the premise of the business. I'm offering small job services for cheap, so that people who can, they're on a limited budget or they don't have the money, they have stuff that they need to get done, but instead of taking all of their money and choosing, I need this done, or food, I'm going to charge a lot less so that people can put some money here and still get food. So that's one way that I was able to help. So that's how I got started. God connected me with different people along the way, and this is a decision I made probably in March. April, I was up and running. By May, I was turning people around because I couldn't handle all the work. There was a need. And for me, my major customer base were senior women who needed stuff done around the house that they couldn't get done themselves, but they couldn't pay $70 a shot for somebody to come. Mowing was the biggest thing. So I got myself a mower, a little push mower, and I worked my little boots out. Right? And I was like, you know what? This is a lot of work. And I charged $20 for working 2.5 hours pushing a mower around. I didn't make any money. Basically, I made whatever money I needed to get the gas and maybe replace some of the stuff that broke, maybe get some newer equipment. But that was one way that I served. I saw a need. I went forward. I had no idea what I was doing. I don't have a business degree. I had no clue. I was like, God, somebody's got to do something, and you've laid this on my heart, so I'm going forward, and I'm doing something. I don't know where this is going to end up. I don't know what I'm doing, but you're calling me to step forward, and I'm doing it. And that's what I did. And I met some wonderful people along the way, and I made some really interesting and really good contacts along the way, and I call them my little ladies, but my customers, you know, I just wouldn't go there and just mow grass. I'd step into their homes. I was dirty and sweaty and stinky and the whole works, but they'd invite me in for tea, coffee, and supper. And I'd chit-chat with them. So they weren't just a job. So when I left Sussex and when I told them I was leaving because I took up a job pastoring, they were happy, but they were disappointed at the same time. And it broke my heart to leave them behind because I'm like, who now is going to look after them? I tried finding somebody to replace me so that they could continue helping them out. Nobody wanted to do it for the price that I was doing it for. I mean, I was working another full-time job at night. So I was literally working day and night, literally. I would sleep a couple hours in between shifts and sometimes have a nap in the afternoon. And if it was raining outside, that was the best day because I couldn't do anything outside, so I took that time to sleep. But for me, that was my way into the community. That was my way. And they were calling me, right? Hey, I heard so-and-so told me you did a good job. They really like you. They really love you. And they knew it was, at that time, I'd become a pastor, volunteer pastor, but I was a pastor, so they knew they were getting a pastor to mow their grass. And that's like, you're a pastor? Yeah. And you know what? I enjoy getting dirty and stinky for 40. I enjoy doing this. I love being able to serve my community in this way. And that is something that, you know, God had put in my heart. And we all have different gifts. And there are different ways of finding people. For example, this week, I mean, for my business, word of mouth was the best, right? I got started with a couple people and then it just went, right? I connected with the president of like there's a senior leisure group, and they're like, yeah, come speak to our group. So, you know, word spread like wildfire. But there are other ways, right? This week, I went on Kijiji. I don't know about this area, but I checked in Truro. I was like, okay, let's look in the community section. And I found at least 3 ads where people were asking for help in the community for a variety of different reasons. And they just put little something out there, and we need food, we need this, we need that. And I responded to all three, right? And it's right there in front of us. People are in our midst, and they're putting on Kijiji. Facebook is another one, right? You go on Facebook, search your area, search Haldwalk, search, for me, Truro, and there's all these different groups that pop up. Go through them and check which ones. There's probably one in there somewhere regarding the community, and people are putting ads in there that they need help in your community. That's another way you can minister to people. They're asking for it, you're putting yourself forward to respond to that, right? Out of compassion, you're loving your neighbor, you're trying to find ways to connect. Oops, sorry. I wrote down a few different things down here, because our communities are different, right? What one community needs and asks for is different from the other. And I'm, in the learning process with Truro. What worked in Sussex doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work here, in Truro, where I'm at. So I'm still trying to figure the logistics out of that. But my business is still on, it's still going, and available. So if somebody, when they ask for something, I'm ready to step forward and go, okay, I'm here both as a person who can help you with this need, but I'm also a pastor who is ready to respond, right? Or you don't need to be a pastor. In my case, I am, right? But I'm ready to respond. Talk to me. How can I help you bring you home? So really, that's kind of what Jesus was doing, right? He was stepping forward. He recognized the needs. He stepped forward. He met the needs, and he also paid attention to the deeper part, the spiritual part. So he didn't just say, hey, walk up, get up and go. Get up and go, and your sins are forgiven. Go and sin no more. So here are a few ideas. If you go on Tim Hortons' site, they have something in April that's called Pitch In. Right? So you can clean trash in your community. They send you the garbage bags, right? It's just a simple way of connecting with the community, right? You can clean around. The winter here in the Maritimes always blows junk around. There's always stuff. You can always offer services like I offer: mow grass, rake, pile wood. You look at the area and you recognize who's in your neighborhood. If there's seniors, usually the seniors, they need that help. Don't let them pile that wood on their own. Help them out. Gather around. Find out who needs that help. You guys live far away from anything. I noticed that on my drive. And I come from the country, and I thought this was country. Get groceries for some of the elders in the area, right? Instead of having them go to town, just grab a list from them and go do it for them. If you've got first responders in the area, like cops or paramedics, firefighters, right? Go bring them some treats. It's very simple, but it opens the door for conversation. You're showing tangibly that you care for the people in your community. So really, it's just a matter of looking around, paying attention, stopping and slowing down, like I had to do with going to each and every address. You slow down and you look around. And sometimes it's as simple as, I'm going to end it with this little example. There's one day, I was kind of rushing through lunch. It was a little late getting back to work. And there's this little lady. She was not big. She was tiny in every aspect. And the wind was like blowing like crazy outside. It was one of those really bad windy days, and there was ice on the parking lot everywhere. And I noticed that she was going out, so I just slowed down my walk. And I was late, so I could have just ignored her and just kept going and get to work on time. But I decided to, no, this is more important. So I slowed down and I looked at her, and I forget what I said. I said something in regards to the weather, and she had a big breadstick, under her arm, and she's walking like this, and And she's like, on days like this, I wish I was heavier. And she's just walking along, and I just stayed close to her and walked alongside her just to make sure she didn't fall over and break a hip or something, right? And just slow down and just, okay, you know, once she got to her car, have a good day, and off I went. It only took me an extra 30 seconds or so, but how many times do we miss those opportunities? Right? So, take the time, slow down, look around, look for the needs, recognize the needs, and out of your love for your community, meet those needs somehow. Right? You can get creative. And as a group, you can even get more creative. Right? You've got more resources. I've got a few pamphlets. I got these done. These are old. You can take them, but the information on it is old. But this is what I started out with. I made a pamphlet with my information and some of the services that I offered. So if you want to grab some of those on your way out, just to kind of look at, and it might spark some ideas for you. I'll set them down somewhere, maybe on that little table, or I'll grab a few with me if you want some, just for some ideas. And think about it, right? I, as a Christian, am called to love my neighbor, and at the same time, I'm not just called to say it, I'm called to show it through my actions. So think about how you can bring those two things together. Let's pray. Father, thank you so much for this time that we've had to kind of slow down and reflect on your word. And Lord, to really spend the time thinking about how we can be your servants a little better. Lord, that we can serve people around us a little better. Lord, that we can show our love to our neighbors and our community and the people around us, to show it in tangible ways. Lord, help us to find out what you are calling us to do individually and as a church. Lord, spark our minds. Through your Spirit, guide us. And we ask for your wisdom and guidance during this time. Lord, we thank you so much for your presence here and for who you are, Lord, and for guiding us. And we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, I suppose, I'm not sure, Tracy,